Hello, I'm Anna Mackay, and this video is called Index Form, and it's the first of two videos on index form. So the word index is just another word for power or exponent. And as we can see here, this 4 to the power of 3, that's written in index form. Expanded form is where that power of 3 is expanded out, so that we have 3 lots of 4. 4 times 4 times 4. We have two components of this index form here. We have the base, and that's that number 4. So let's write that here. We'll point to the 4. And a reminder for my students, everything you see on the screen, typed and handwritten, must be written down in your notebooks. And this 3 here, the power of 3, we call that the index, or it could be a power, or even an exponent. So those words are interchangeable. Let's go on and do a few examples. So if you are asked to write in index form, making sure you write down these examples. Currently we have 6 times 6 times 6 times 6. So you're asking yourself, how many 6's do you see there? 4. So to write that in index form, we would write 6 to the power of 4, and that's all we need to do. Part B here, we've got two different numbers, so we have to look at them separately. So you think about how many 4's you've got. You've got 2, so that's 4 to the power of 2, or 4 squared, times by 7 to the power of how many 7's you see there? 3. I'd like to write an answer for what it is not, and please write this down too. You cannot times the 4 and the 7 together to get 28, and then asking yourself, well, how many numbers are there? Oh, well, there's 5, so it must be 28 to the power of 5. That's certainly not the same. You can only group together numbers that have the same base, so the 4's. Okay, writing in expanded form. So if you see 9 to the power of 5, that's in index form, we need to expand that out. So however many lots of 9's you see there, write that out. And that's all we need to do. And for the second one here, 2 to the power of 3 multiplied by 5 to the power of 2. So we have to write out all the numbers into expanded form. So 3 lots of 2 times by 2 lots of 5. And that's our answer in expanded form. Moving on. Here's one of the rules that we use in index form. Writing this down. When multiplying numbers in index form with the same base, you keep the base and add the indices, or add the powers. So here's the official rule in a general form. If you have a base, and A is any number, 2, 5, 7, anything, to a power, times by another number which has the same base, so A in this case, you're allowed to add the powers. You might ask yourself, how am I going to remember that? One little trick, might seem a bit silly, is that as you can see there's a multiply sign there. If you turn that multiply on its side a little bit, it ends up looking like an add, or an addition sign. So when two numbers with the same base are being multiplied together, that might be a little cue to remind you to add the powers. So let's practice that. So in this example we have 2 to the power of 3 times by 2 to the power of 5, and we're asked to work with it in a couple of different ways. First, by expanding. So the first part, we have 2 to the power of 3, that means there are 3 lots of 2. So let's write that out. 1, 2, 3. And between them is a multiply sign, so we must write that. And then 2 to the power of 5 means 5 lots of 2. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. The next part is by using the rule, and the rule is what I've put up here as a refresher. So as we can see, two numbers with the same base. The base is A, but in this example the base is the number 2. They're being multiplied together, So that gives us permission, if you like, to add those powers. So we'll show what we're going to do. We have permission to write out the base and then have the powers added together. 2 to the power of 3 plus 5. And thinking about that, 3 plus 5 gives us 8. So that's using the rule. Now let's check that with our calculator. Now most of my students would have this calculator here. So please make sure you've got that handy. I'm just going to show you how to use that on your calculator. Now this button here is the one that you're going to be using. It's x to the power of, and it's got a little box. So you make sure you use that button. I've got a different calculator that I've got access to on my screen here. So just bear with me. So we're basically wondering here, does 2 to the power of 3 times by 2 to the power of 5 equal 2 to the power of 8? So is that rule that we've been talking about actually true? So a reminder to use this button. So first of all, we're going to enter 2. Then you are going to use that button, and then a little box should appear on your calculator screen, and that's where you're going to put in the number 3. Some people may have a calculator where they have an arrow, so that's what I'm going to do. You will probably now need to arrow to the right so that the cursor comes down to the baseline so that it's in line with the 2, not in line with the power 3. Then we're going to do multiply, and the same thing again. 2 to the power of, so for my students using this x to the power button where it's a box, and inside the box put a 5. Hit enter, or equals 256. Is that the same as 2 to the power of 8? So using your calculators, 2, use that button, to the power of 8 equals 256, as you can see. So yes, that rule is true. That means you can, if it is the same base, you can add the powers. Going back to our questions, I'm just syncing back up here. So we've done that one, and moving on. Okay, being asked to simplify here, slightly harder. So here's base 2, and there's base 2 over there. So that means we can still use the rule that we've got over here. We also have base 4 and base 4. So let's write out our answer, collecting together the parts that we see that are the same. So we have 2 to the power of 4, add, the 2 to the power of 3. So where it's the same base, we're adding the powers and multiplying by the 4s. 4 to the power of 3, add, which number? 7. Now we keep simplifying, add these numbers together, so you'd get 2 to the power of 7 times by 4 to the power of 10. It just said simplify, it didn't say work out or calculate, so we just leave our answer like that. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel, and the next video in this series will be called Index Form Part 2 of 2, where we do some more complicated questions and some new rules. Thank you.